So let's explore some of your needs in greater detail. I have your assessment and your questionnaire here, so I'm going to refer to these as we have our conversation together.
Okay.
But I'd like to collaborate with you on creating a plan to address your health goals and concerns. And during our conversation, we can discuss a typical day, your sleep patterns, stressors, your diet, exercise, things that work for you.
Yeah, fair enough.
And then I'd like to ask you a few questions that I thought of after reading your dietary journal and some of the intake questionnaires that you filled out. But first, I wondered if you had any questions about the questionnaire that you filled out or the dietary journal.
I mean, just like a couple comments to me, like putting it down in writing, it's like my food choices are a bit monotonous, I will say, but it's interesting.
That's good. We can go into that in greater detail, especially when it comes to the plan that you come up with for your, we can talk about ways to make it more interesting, or if you like it. Some people like kind of having something that they're familiar with and it's easy for them, especially in the mornings, so we can talk about what works best for your schedule.
That's probably me.
Your overall concerns that you mentioned were poor sleep and low energy level.
Yeah.
So I'd like to talk to you about your diet. Do you have any concerns or questions about your diet and lifestyle choices and how that might affect your energy or your sleep?
I mean, I'm curious what your thoughts are about it, particularly like my nighttime snacking habits and how it might impact my sleep. But I don't really have questions about my diet overall.
Do you have any concerns or any ideas about specific changes that you'd like to make?
Yeah, like I said, it looks a bit monotonous when I put it down in black and white, particularly like crackers, salty stuff, and also nuts.
Okay.
And yeah, so I've got some concerns that maybe I'm eating too many nuts and it's causing me to lose sleep, or if I'm gorging myself on cheese crackers at 9:30 at night, that might impact what's going on and make me wake up early or something.
Right. And as we move through this, it'll be interesting to talk about maybe why you're interested in eating those foods and what they do for you when you eat them, what you're thinking when you crave them. Have you ever tried changing your eating habits or any lifestyle habits in the past?
I have. Like over 2 years ago, I went basically dessert free and still am that. No ice cream, pancakes, waffles, muffins, cookies, cake, pie, nothing like that. And also typically low carb with most meals.
Do you struggle a lot with making changes, or is it easy for you to make changes?
I mean, this wasn't easy for sure, because that's my big vice. It is pastries, particularly donuts. I love donuts. Holy donut. I love donuts. So not having one for 2.5 years, you start to recognize how many things are like out of habit. Right. Every time I start to drive in that direction early in the morning, I think, ooh, they've got those cream on one side, jelly on the other side, squirted into the same donuts in my coffee shop. And I'm like, but yeah.
Well, that's really great. Your willpower and your determination to change your diet. That's really amazing.
It can be a bit boring too.
But, I think having that ability to do that and have that kind of clarity would be helpful. Maybe we can integrate that into our plans for addressing some of your concerns about sleep.
That'd be cool.
When do you get good sleep, and what does it do for you?
I don't get it often. I mean, I would say rarely. But if I get a night where I've had 7 straight hours, I wake up and I think to myself, this has got to be what it's like for other people.
Do you really notice the difference?
I really notice the difference.
What do you value most about having a healthy diet?
I like the feeling that I'm in control of my food. I like the energy. Overall, I like the way that I feel like I've created a diet that I feel like I'm healthy. So it's probably the biggest piece of it.
Do you mind describing to me an average day from the time you get up till you go to bed? And you don't have to go into great detail, but just like when you rise, how do you feel? What kinds of things do you do before you go to bed?
Okay, so when I first get up, the first thing I do is I walk my dogs up the hill. So I get a kind of a brisk pace in. That's year round, no matter what the weather is. And it's about only 6 to 8 minutes round trip, but it's up a pretty steep grade. They get a walk out of it. I get a walk out of it. I come in, and then I just eat my basic, monotonous, boring breakfast. have a cup of coffee, and then I get started, whether it's farm work or my own work.
I noticed in your questionnaire that you're moderately active. You do a lot of farm work. You're
Mm-hmm.
physically active every day.
Mm-hmm.
And then you also have work, which maybe is a little more sedentary, but it's not every day either. It seems that you have a lot of variety to your day. It changes a lot.
Yes.
And then in the evening, I read in your dietary journal that after dinner, you do a great job of having this wonderful balance between proteins and vegetables and fruit. You eat a lot of fruits and vegetables, mostly in your evening meal.
Yeah.
You drink a lot of water.
I do.
You're active every day. And I notice that in the evening, you tend to like to eat salty, crunchy things while you like to watch movies and stuff. And you kind of eat them later, closer to bedtime?
Later. And it's kind of like a weird thing. I'm going to say sometimes it's not until 8:30 or 9 o'clock at night, and I don't even really want it.
It's a habit, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, I would say yes, but on the other hand, I'm like a guy, I don't eat any snacks in a movie. I watched Avengers Endgame over 3 hours. I don't get a snack. I'm not a popcorn guy. I haven't had a soda in 15 years.
So do you think it's more related to the situation then? Maybe you're at home, you're relaxed, do you crave salty, sweet thing? Are you actually craving something, or is it just kind of like, oh, I'm going to get up and get something to eat?
It's like I'm going to get up and get something to eat. And it used to, in the day, it would have been like cookies.
You would have eaten a lot of cookies and a lot of sweets.
Yeah.
And then gone to bed.
And then gone to bed. Instead, now it's like those cheese crackers or a cracker and a couple slices of cheese.
Can you quickly describe, not quickly, but briefly, I should say, describe things that you do that you feel improves your sleep?
One thing for sure I've noticed is if I quit drinking water earlier in the night, which is impossible if I'm eating salty stuff, but on a night when I don't eat salty stuff and I don't drink water, I don't have to get up to use the bathroom. So that's an improvement. But the main thing that I've ever noticed in the last few years that improves my sleep is taking like a bath that's so hot it feels like a sauna. Almost just like burns you to sit in. And I soak for 20 minutes and I go right out, and I usually get at least 5 hours out of that.
And how close to bedtime do you say you are when you turn off the TV at the end of the night?
99% of the time, half an hour to an hour before I...
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. I'm going to note that. I wanted to go over some of the assessments of the vital signs that I took and your physical assessment that we did, and then your comprehensive metabolic panel.
Okay.
Your BP and heart rate were great. They're in incredibly healthy range, and for 60 years old, you're in great shape. Your heart rate, the doctor, they were just blown away and thought you were a total athlete, so that's really wonderful, something to be happy with. Overall, your physical exam was unremarkable, with the exception of some minor facial redness that we noticed, and sinus pain on occasion, and dry scalp.
Thank you. Yeah.
Your blood results from the tests that I didn't have a complete CBC, but I did have the CMP. Everything was within optimal ranges. Really great. There were just two that were in minor ranges, like maybe 1 point above and 1 point below. For instance, the anion gap, I think, was, what did I see? Just 1 point above. And that could have be indicative of the day that you got the blood test.
Probably.
Right. And you never know. And that's just a basic test that looks at tissue alkalinity or acidity. Mm-hmm. And then the only other marker that I noticed was the alkaline phosphatase was just a little below, like 1 or 2 points below the optimal range, which is wonderful. And they use that test to measure liver and gallbladder and function and bone health. Mm-hmm. And like I said, it could just have been related to that particular day and something we can just keep an eye on.
Yep.
On your questionnaire, you described having back pain in your right leg from sciatica, and you also mentioned having seasonal chest congestion headaches. Yeah. You thought were related to allergies. Yeah. And I wondered, do you think any of these symptoms interfere with your sleep?
Sometimes particularly when something goes into bloom, I can tell it because I'll wake up and I'm kind of congested, maybe middle of the night. It's a pretty unpleasant feeling. But otherwise, I don't think that's what keeps me from sleeping.
Okay. And sciatica, does it affect your sleep?
It definitely can. If I lay on the wrong side, it'll just really get this stuff going. It sends it here all the way down my leg. Mm-hmm.
You also, on your questionnaire here, Matt, mentioned bags and dark circles under your eyes related to disturbed sleep. Mm-hmm. and that you occasionally have periods of anxiety.
True.
Okay. You also described, as we mentioned earlier, craving salts and sweets. That was on your questionnaire, and that you feel that you can binge on chips, nuts, pretzels, and crackers.
Yep.
Overall, on the questionnaire, there weren't very many concerns that you had overall, and the long questionnaire with the multiple boxes about cravings and asked you questions about symptoms and habits, you really didn't check that many boxes off, which is really great. That's good for you. But you did mention that you have the daily cravings, and your journal did describe eating those chips and crackers on a daily basis and crackers at night. We did talk about, I guess I can ask it more specifically, what is it in particular that you crave about these foods?
I can't describe it. I mean, one of the good things about craving the salty stuff is compared to I eat a whole lot less than I do if I eat cookies. So I can eat a whole sleeve of cookies watching a movie, whereas I might only eat 2 handfuls of cheese crackers, or I might eat 6, they look like those round Captain's wafers or whatever they are, and cut a couple chunks of cheese, and that can last me. So, but I still do, when I get the craving, I get the craving, period.
No, that's something we could explore.
Mm-hmm.
That's good to know. Are there anything that you would like to change your habits around these foods? Can you think of anything? Timing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And how concerned are you about eating these foods on a daily basis in terms of your health or
I mean,
cravings and diet?
I prefer not to eat crackers all the time. There's just something about it that just still feels a bit grody to me. But overall, like, to eat a handful of cashews in the middle of the day, I don't see how I'm hurting myself for sure. So.
Well, good. Maybe we can figure out things that you like the best, substitutes that might fill in, try them out, see how it feels. Changing maybe the timing of when you watch your movies at night. And we'll come up with some ideas we can work on and see how they fit into your lifestyle. I did mention that your diet reflects your diet journal reflected a pretty consistent diet, and you drink plenty of water. You eat healthy amounts of protein, like local grass-fed animals, and you eat beans. Yeah. You eat salad and fruits every day with vegetables, usually in your afternoon or evening meal. Yeah. And you're active. And how about your stressors? How stressful is farm work or your business?
It's all stressful. I would say I live pretty high stress.
Positive stress, is it equal, or is it mostly negative stress, would you say?
It's equal.
It's
positive stress because I put a lot of pressure on myself to do some creations in my work and they're usually deadlined. And then there's the stress that comes along with what I do. So the farm work I find pretty stressful. Yeah.
What kinds of things do you do to relax?
I like to watch horror movies. It's like one of my things. I like going to car shows, talking about comic book movies, hanging out with my family, whatever.
And do you feel like you have a good support structure with family and friends?
Yeah.
So we talked about your decision to avoid sugar. How did that come around? And how have you felt since you stopped?
Like March, over 2 years ago in March, it was the very first weekend in March, I ate like an entire box of those Tate's thin cookies. They're so good. And I ate an entire thing of them and an entire like pint tub or whatever it is. And then almost a whole second tub of Walpole Creamery mint chocolate chip ice cream, which I used to love. And I literally felt sick. I mean, it was a Saturday. It was kind of rainy. I was watching horror movies.
And then you just quit. It's been 2 years. Yeah. That's good. Well, I have a few ideas about how you might be able to improve your sleep by changing a few eating habits and modifying your diet, and we can talk about that. And also your lack of energy. That's something we can measure as we go through this process and see if it improves your sleep.
Yeah.
And I was wondering, how concerned are you about your poor sleep quality and low energy levels?
I would say very.
And how willing are you to change your habits or come up with ideas to do things differently?
Very willing for ideas. My willingness to change, I'd say, is moderate.
That's great. Well, we can work on that. And I just wanted to thank you for sharing your thoughts and concerns with me. We met today to talk about your low energy and your sleep issues and finding ways to improve